keen and focus on the speaker, you know, listening as an evaluator as opposed to getting distracted and getting into what they're saying.
Mary, I'm glad you asked that question. First of all, if you're coming up next to speak, don't be reading your notes. Pay attention to the speaker. The other thing is, when I'm listening to a speaker, I am listening. I'm not thinking about what I'm going to do next after I leave here. I'm not thinking about anything else except what the speaker is saying. You know, we all have these mind monkeys that go on in our head all the time, every day. You know, thoughts come in and they may have nothing to do with what you're listening to. You've got to learn to shut those off. You're only going to listen to what the speaker has to say. And when you're doing that and you're trying to take notes, there is nothing else you can do. Because you're watching, you're observing, you're listening to how the speaker puts together their speech. It's almost like there's no one else in the room. All I would be observing is whether they're using eye contact. Did that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Oh, come on. Yes.
I find it difficult to stay focused when I was up there. I think everyone could tell. How do you keep your mind focusing on what you want to say and keep it going? You do it really well. I have a very difficult time trying to keep it. Do you have any tips or tricks on how to keep, you talked about having 2 or 3 things you want to talk about, but how to keep that all organized in your mind while you're saying certain things is.
Mark, I'm glad you asked that question. Well, first of all, practice. It doesn't do very good to practice 10 minutes before you're supposed to give the speech. In fact, I find writing the speech the easiest part. But practicing it, I usually practice about 5 to 6 hours before I give a speech, so that I have in mind what I'm going to say. And one of the tips that I'll share with you that I've learned in Toastmasters is, and you could use your workbench or your kitchen or whatever. I usually come up with some key words, and I go through my house and I place the things that I want to remember in certain spots, and it's like I'm making a tour of my house, so that as I reach this point, I know, okay, that's where I placed point number 2. And it's like a mental trigger. You see the word, and it reminds you of what you're going to say. That may not work for you, but it works for me. I think the most important thing is, and world champion speakers will tell you, there's no such thing as a perfect speech. You're always going to want to improve. You're going to find that there are things that you forget. And that brings up another point. The only person who knows if you missed something is you. So you don't have to tell us, oh, I forgot to tell you this. Just go on with what you remember. Just track what your speech is about and just move forward. The only time anyone's going to notice is if you tell us that you forgot, and don't start over. I think that there are probably many other tricks that you can use to keep your speech in mind. But if I have a mission statement and I can write out what my mission of my speech is in 1 sentence, and then I have 3 points. That's probably all you can give in 5 to 7 minute speeches. And it's mostly what you'll give in your first manual, 5 to 7 minute speeches. So you wanna make point one, and then illustrate the real story. And then, my next point that I wanna make is, and you say your point, illustrate the story. And now I wanna transition to, my next idea. Point three, story. And now, just to bring you back to my mission, was to tell you how much I enjoyed my shoes and where they took me. You know, shoes can take you many places, but my purple shoes take me everywhere. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Anything else? Oh, I guess you know how to find it, right? Okay, I'm going to.
Question.
Question.
I do have a question. How do you structure